I knew the joke before she said it. The cake box was warm against my palms, the icing probably shifting from the drive. I'd chosen something simple: white buttercream, fresh berries, her favorite. 60 candles were waiting in a paper bag in my coat pocket. The room looked good. I'd made sure of that. The uplighting along the walls, the string quartet in the corner, the projection screen looping old family photos I'd spent 2 nights editing. My sister saw me first. She smiled bright and loud and said, "Oh look, the family wallet finally showed up." It landed easily. People laughed because it was easy to laugh. I smiled because that was easier than correcting it. My uncle tapped his fork against his glass. "Let's toast early," he said. "To the child who gives the most but matters the least." That one was sharper. It drew a different kind of laughter, the kind that checks the room before committing. I looked at my mother. She didn't frown. She didn't defend me. She waved her hand slightly, like she was smoothing air. "Don't make a scene," she said softly. "It's my day." I hadn't said anything. That was the moment something shifted. It wasn't anger. I've done anger before. This was quieter. It felt like stepping outside of something I'd been standing inside my whole life. I set the cake down on the dessert table. Straightened the edge of the box. Adjusted the ribbon slightly so it looked intentional. Then I walked toward the front desk. The envelope I handed the venue manager wasn't dramatic. It contained a printed notice withdrawing my card authorization for the remaining balance and requesting that all further charges be billed directly to the event host, whose name was clearly listed on the contract. My mother. I didn't ask for anything to be shut off. I didn't demand spectacle. I just removed myself. In the car, I sat for a while before starting the engine. There's a particular exhaustion that comes from being useful. Not loved. Not chosen, just useful. I thought about the roof repair I'd paid for 5 years ago. My sister's temporary rent deposit that was never temporary. The family vacations where I stayed in the smaller room but covered the larger bill. I'd convinced myself generosity was connection. It wasn't. It was infrastructure. An hour later my phone buzzed. I let it. Another buzz. Then 3 in a row. Finally, a text from my cousin. "What did you do?" I didn't respond. I didn't need to. I could picture it clearly. The venue manager approaching the head table politely, explaining that the final payment authorization had been rescinded. That per policy, service could not continue without updated billing confirmation. The quartet would have stopped mid-piece. The lighting technician waiting for instruction before the scheduled slideshow finale. The bar pausing new tabs, not chaos. Procedure. Authority is rarely loud, it's just firm. I imagine my sister leaning in first, whispering. My uncle no longer clinking glasses. My mother being handed a tablet to enter a card number she hadn't expected to provide. For once, the room would not be looking at me to fix it. I wasn't there. That was the point. My mother called. I answered on the 4th ring. "What is going on?" she asked, her voice controlled but thinner than usual. "I removed my card from the contract," I said. Silence. Then, "Why would you embarrass me like this?" There it was. Not why did you feel hurt, not what happened. Just embarrassment. "I didn't embarrass you," I said carefully. "I just stopped paying." Another pause. I could hear muffled movement in the background. The music hadn't resumed. "You could have told me," she said. "I've been telling you for years," I replied. Not angrily, just factually. She didn't argue. She didn't apologize either. "I'll handle it," she said finally. "I know you will," I said. And that was the end of the call. The next morning, my sister sent a long message about how petty the move was. My uncle sent nothing. A few relatives reached out quietly, not to scold, just to ask if I was okay. My mother left a voicemail 2 days later. She didn't mention the toast. Or the joke. She said, "Next time, we'll plan differently." It wasn't an apology. But it was the first time she'd used the word "we" without attaching a payment to it. Weeks passed. There was a smaller Sunday lunch at her house. No event planners. No string quartet. Just takeout containers and paper plates. I wasn't asked to organize anything. I brought a modest gift. Something thoughtful but proportional. No one called me the wallet. No one toasted my usefulness. The conversation moved around me instead of through me, and for the first time, that felt like relief. I left early. In the car, I checked my bank account out of habit. Then I realized I didn't need to. The power wasn't dramatic. There was no apology tour, no emotional reckoning. Some relationships cooled. Some stayed exactly the same. But something fundamental had shifted. I was no longer the background solution. No longer the unspoken insurance policy. If they wanted me there, it would have to be for something other than coverage. And if it wasn't, I finally knew I could walk out before the lights did.